Hey guys, it's Alyssa from pileoffabric.com. Today I'm going to be taking you step by step through the process of making my very first bag design and pattern, the Shiloh Satchel. The Shiloh Satchel is a sophisticated satchel that is loaded with different pockets to help keep you organized. The pattern includes instructions for two sizes, a 14-inch by 12-inch by 5-inch handbag, great for daily use, or a large 17-inch by 15-inch by 7-inch traveler, great for carrying 13 or 14-inch laptops, all the necessities for a weekend trip, or a great diaper bag for a new baby. Let's take a quick tour of the bag. It can be made with beautiful braided or flat bag straps. It has exterior side pockets, an outer compartment with a slip pocket great for pens and small goodies. One side of the bag has a body pocket, which is actually divided into two pockets, great for quick access to your cell phone and keys. If you're making the traveler size bag, you may like to have the clip-on adjustable shoulder strap. On the other side of the bag, you have another identical outer compartment with slip pocket, a zipper pocket with optional accent, side strap connectors for something to hold when opening and closing the bag, as well as to hook additional straps to. If you plan to use the Shiloh Satchel as a diaper bag, you may like to have the clip-on stroller straps as well. The Shiloh Satchel is rated a 3 pushing 4 out of 4 on the Pile of Fabric difficulty scale. It is suggested for the experienced sewer who has sewn a variety of bags and feels comfortable with sewing structured or stiffer bags. Before we jump in to the pattern steps, I'm going to share with you all the details on the fabric, supplies, tools, and sewing machines I used. These items are not all required to make the Shiloh Satchel, but you will see them used throughout the video. I won't be listing the exact amounts or the exact measurements, so be sure to refer to the pattern, which can be purchased at pileoffabric.com. Fabrics and materials used. For the exterior fabric, I used doily web and mustard by Cotton and Steel Fabrics. For the lining A fabric, I used Lace and Bloom by Art Gallery Fabrics. For the lining B fabric, I used Skull Dot and Mint by Cotton and Steel Fabrics. For the exterior accent, I used glitter vinyl and snowflake. This is a marine weight vinyl perfect for bag making. Supplies used. For the foam interfacing, I used Pellon Flex Foam. For the interfacing, I used Pellon Shape Flex. For the stabilizer, I used Pellon Peltux. For the stiffener, I used Pellon Deco Fuse. For the piping accents, I used 2 packs of pre-made Wright's maxi corded piping in Oyster. Hardware used. To attach the straps, I used 8 large nickel rivets with a 7/16 inch post length. For the rivet accents on the body pocket and zipper accent, I used 3 small nickel rivets with a 1/4 inch post length. For the side strap connectors, I used 2 3/4 inch chunky rectangle rings in nickel. I used 4 1/2 inch purse feet in nickel for the bag bottom. As a fun extra, I made a fun glitter vinyl tassel with a 1/2 inch swivel snap in nickel. I used 3 3mm 7-inch all-purpose zippers in white for the zipper pockets. I used 1 4.5mm 18-inch handbag zipper in white for the main zipper. Tools and supplies used. I used Elmer's washable school glue with a fine glue tip for temporary glue basting. I used all-purpose contact cement for permanent glue basting. I used a Frixion marking pen for erasable markings. I used Clover Wonder clips and spring clamps to hold pieces together. I used double-sided permanent adhesive tape for permanent basting option. A rubber mallet for flattening folded vinyl. You will see in the video I use a Little Wonder rivet press to set my rivets, but you can also use a simpler, more affordable hand rivet setter. You will also see I used a rotary hole punch to punch my rivet holes, but you can also use a simpler, more affordable hole punch set. I used a simple bodkin for making the braided straps. Sewing machines used. It isn't required that you have a specific type of machine in order to sew the Shiloh Satchel. Many sewers use basic home sewing machines. You may find the layers pretty thick on a home sewing machine, but it's definitely possible. For most of the sewing of the bag exterior and vinyl, I'm sewing with an Artisan 335B walking foot cylinder bed compound needle feed machine. For the lighter weight fabric and pockets, I'm sewing with a Juki TL 2010Q machine that is in a Sew Easy flatbed table. If you are using a home sewing machine and would like to work with vinyl or leather, here are some tips. When sewing vinyl or leather, it's extremely helpful to use a Teflon non-stick foot, sharp leather or denim needles, and a longer stitch length. Vinyl and leather cannot be pressed from the right side. Instead, press from the wrong side and you can use a pressing cloth to protect your iron. Try to avoid backstitching on vinyl or leather. Instead, keep your thread tails long, knot them, and bury them. Do not pin vinyl or leather. It will leave a permanent hole. Instead, clip, glue-based, or use adhesive tape, and you'll see me do that a lot throughout this video. Alright, it's time to get started. Cutting the pieces. Using the proper size Shiloh satchel templates, either handbag or traveler, and the cutting lists provided on page 6 of the pattern, I'm going to cut the fabric, interfacing, stabilizer, stiffener, and foam pieces on the wrong side of the fabric. I did not take a video of this step because I feel like it's pretty simple and that'll leave time for the harder parts. Fusing the pieces. Using the fusing checklists on page 7 of the pattern, I fused the interfacing, stabilizer, foam pieces to the wrong side of the appropriate pieces. Making the bag straps and connectors. Step 1. The main strap connectors. I am fusing my stiffener main strap connector pieces centered to the wrong side of the exterior accent main strap connectors. Using the main strap connector template as a guide, I mark the rivet hole and slit hole placement on the main strap connector. I use my rotary leather hole punch to punch holes for my rivets. I use an X-Acto knife to cut the slit precisely. Now I am placing a thin line of contact cement within the seam allowance on the exterior accent main strap connector. Before I turn the edges, I shoot steam over the exterior accent main strap connector. I do this because the steamy heat helps soften up the vinyl before I turn the edges. The trick with contact cement is to let it almost dry before you turn the edges. It shouldn't be wet anymore, it should just be a little tacky. If you try to turn the edges when the glue is still wet, nothing will stick and you'll be really frustrated. But if you wait till it's tacky, you can actually turn the edges over and it will stick without having to use a single clip. I use my bone folder to smooth and flatten the connector piece. Step 2. Side strap connectors. I mark a line on the wrong side of the exterior accent side strap connector piece, lengthwise down the center. Using contact cement again, I place glue on the wrong side, then let it dry till it's no longer wet. I fold the long raw edges, wrong sides together, inward to the center crease and finger press. I use my bone folder to smooth and flatten the connector piece. Now, if you were using a woven material instead of a vinyl or a leather for all of these accent pieces, you could use a simple washable Elmer's school glue for the same process that we're doing as using the contact cement. So as long as you heat set the washable glue, it's a great alternative to contact cement when you're working with a woven material. I feed the connectors through nickel rectangle rings so the join in the ring is inside the connector and hidden. I coat the wrong side of the connectors with contact cement and let it dry. I fold the connectors in half widthwise, wrong sides together, and finger press. At my industrial machine, I will top stitch with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance starting at one raw edge. I try to get as close to the rectangle ring as I can before I rotate and continue top stitching. I repeat this process for the second side strap connector and set them aside. Step 3. Braided bag straps. The braided bag straps take a bit more time and patience than the basic strap, but they really look beautiful. I didn't use braided straps for this handbag, but I did use them when I made the traveler size on the cover of the pattern. I am folding one exterior braided bag strap in half lengthwise, wrong sides together, and pressing it with a hot iron. I open and fold the long raw edges, wrong sides together, inward towards the center crease and press again. I fold the strap in half lengthwise once more and press. Using the measurements listed in the pattern and an erasable pen, I mark a line on the strap from each short end. Starting at the first marked line, I top stitch down the length of the open edge of the strap, very close to the edge until I reach the second line. Make sure you sew as close to the edge as possible without sewing off the edge. I attach a simple bodkin to my piece of cording and feed it into one end of the braided strap piece. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the braided straps, but it's really not hard. I pull the bodkin all the way through until I reach the other end. I press the ends of the strap flat, then I repeat this process with the remaining 5 braided strap pieces. I lay 3 braided strap pieces out and line up 3 of the ends slightly overlapping and pin the ends together. I sew base along the ends to hold them together. I have a pinnable pressing board, so I pin the basted ends to my pressing board. You could also tape the ends to your table as well. And then I tightly braid down the length of the pieces. When I get to the end of the strap, I overlap the ends and pin them. I sew baste along the remaining ends to secure them together. I repeat this process for the second strap and set the straps aside. Step 3B, flat bag straps. The flat bag straps are a quick, simple, fast strap option. I fold one exterior flat bag strap piece in half lengthwise, wrong sides together, and press. I open and fold the long raw edges, wrong sides together, inward towards the center crease, and press. I place a fine line of Elmer's washable school glue along one side of the fold. Then I fold the strap in half lengthwise once more and press with a hot dry iron to heat set the glue. I top stitch down the length of the strap about 1/8 of an inch from each edge. And then I repeat this process for the second exterior flat bag strap and set the straps aside. Step 4, adjustable shoulder strap. The adjustable shoulder strap is a great add-on when you want a longer cross-body strap. It has swivel clasps on both ends that connect to the side strap connectors on the bag. Using the adjustable shoulder strap piece, follow the same instructions as shown for constructing a flat bag strap. I feed the end of the strap through one opening in the slide, then over the middle bar and down through the other opening. I place one swivel clasp on the end of the strap so the clasp is pointing outward. Feed the same end of the strap with the swivel clasp through the first opening up from the bottom of the slide. Then I feed the strap over the middle bar and down through the other opening in the slide. I pinch the 2 straps in the middle together and place a clip on them to hold them together. I feed the other end of the strap into a swivel clasp and fold the raw end of the strap backward. I use my rotary punch to punch a 1/8 inch hole centered across the width of the strap through all of the folds. I stick a large 7/16 inch rivet through the hole, place the cap on the rivet, and use my rivet press to install the rivet. Optionally, you could clip these pieces together and sew across the width of the strap to secure the clasp, but I chose to use rivets to secure the ends. Now back at the other end of the strap I clipped before, I remove the clip and fold the raw edge in under about 1 inch. I use my rotary punch to punch an 1/8 of an inch hole centered across the width of the strap through all of the folds. I stick a large rivet through the hole, place the cap on the rivet, and use my rivet press to install the rivet. Now I have a clip-on adjustable shoulder strap. Step 5, stroller straps. The stroller straps are a great add-on for anyone who's making this into a diaper bag. They're just like your typical stroller strap. They can be wrapped around the handle on your stroller, and then you can clip the bag onto them when you want to free up the basket under your stroller. I fold one stroller strap piece in half lengthwise, wrong sides together, and press. I open the piece and fold the long raw edges, wrong sides together, inward towards the center crease, and press again. I unfold the strap, then feed one swivel clasp onto the strap. I fold the strap in half widthwise, wrong sides together, and pin the ends. I sew the ends together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I press the seam open and flat. Then I fold the strap in 4s on the original creases and press. I top stitch an 1/8 of an inch from both edges of the strap all the way around, moving the swivel clasp out of my way as I sew. I have the seam line of the strap positioned about 1 inch to the left of the swivel clasp, and then I top stitch directly on the seam line across the strap, back stitching to secure. Using my rotary punch, I punch an 1/8 of an inch hole centered on the strap close to the swivel snap. I install a rivet and repeat these steps for the second stroller strap. Making the exterior body panels. Step 6, fusing and quilting top bag body. I lay the foam bag body piece fusible side up and line up the exterior accent top bag body piece with the top edge of the foam piece. I flip the pieces over to the wrong side and fuse just the top half of the exterior accent top bag body piece. I stick painter's tape at a 45-degree angle across the exterior accent top bag body piece and line the edge of the presser foot up with the painter's tape and top stitch across the exterior accent top bag body piece. I peel the tape off and line it up with my first stitch line, and then I top stitch again. I repeat this process until the entire exterior accent top bag body piece is quilted. Step 7, piecing bag body panels. I stick a piece of adhesive tape along the bottom edge of the top bag body piece. I do this because I don't want to pin my vinyl. Adhesive tape works much better. With right sides together, I line up the top edge of lining A bottom bag body piece with the bottom edge of the top bag body piece, and I stick it down to the tape. I sew through both pieces and the foam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Not shown in the video, I fold the lining A bottom bag body piece down and fuse it to the foam. Then I top stitch a 1/4 inch below the seam on the lining A bottom bag body piece. I repeat these steps for the second exterior bag body panel. Step 8, making and adding slip pockets. I place 2 lining A slip pocket pieces, one with interfacing and one without, right sides together and pin. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the top and bottom edges. I flip the slip pocket right side out and press flat. Then I top stitch a 1/4 inch from the top shorter edge. I repeat these steps for the remaining set of slip pocket pieces. I lay the slip pocket down, interfacing side up, on one exterior bag body, lining up the top of the slip pocket with the top edge of the bottom bag body, and I pin it into place. Using an erasable pen, I mark a center line and lines to the left and right of the center line on the slip pocket using the measurements listed in the pattern. In one continuous stitching line, I top stitch a 1/4 inch away from the bottom edge of the slip pocket, rotate, and top stitch a 1/4 inch from the first marked line, rotate, and continue top stitching as shown through all the exterior bag body and slip pocket layers. I press the slip pocket to remove any of the pen marks and repeat these steps for the second exterior bag body and slip pocket. Step 9. Attaching main straps and connectors. Using the bag body template and measurements in the pattern as a guide, I measure out the main strap connector placement on the left and right side of the exterior bag body panel. I place contact cement on the edges of the wrong side of the main strap connectors. I wait for them to dry just till they're tacky, and then I stick them down into place on the exterior bag body panel and press with my fingers. And then I lay my ruler over the connectors and gently hammer them with a rubber mallet, just to flatten everything out nicely. Leaving my thread tails nice and long, I top stitch 1/8 of an inch around the edges of the main strap connector through the exterior bag body, securing it in place. I repeat these steps for the other 3 main strap connectors. I pull the long thread tails to the back of the panel, knot and trim them. I stick one end of my flat bag strap into the main strap connector slit hole. Then I stick the other end into the other main strap slit hole, making sure that I don't have my strap twisted when I do this. I use 1/8 of an inch hole punch on my little Wonder Press and punch holes directly through the holes that I already made through all of the layers in my bag body. I stick the post of my rivet up through the back of the panel and then the rivet cap in my press die and install the 7/16 inch rivet. These fasteners are holding my straps in, so it's really important that they're installed correctly. I repeat these steps for all the remaining bag strap ends and set the exterior bag body panels aside. Making the exterior outer compartment number 1. Step 10. Installing the zipper pocket. I fold one exterior outer compartment and one lining A zipper pocket lining in half to find the center. I lay the lining A zipper pocket lining piece down right sides together, centered over the outer compartment piece. I use my ruler and the measurements listed in the pattern to position the zipper pocket lining piece and pin the pieces together. Using the appropriate measurements listed in the pattern, I mark the zipper pocket placement centered on the zipper pocket lining piece. I sew directly on the outside line of the rectangle box through all the layers, backstitching at the start and stop. With fabric scissors, I carefully cut a slit through all of the layers down the center of the rectangle box on my center marked lines. When I cut the V shape that's in the corners of the rectangle, I try to get really close to the corner of the rectangle without cutting the thread. I stuff the zipper pocket lining piece through the slit. Then I finger press the seam around the rectangle box to get the zipper pocket lining piece to lay flat. Then I press the rectangle with a hot dry iron until it's nice and flat. I place Elmer's washable school glue along the zipper tape and center a zipper right side down onto the rectangle box. I finger press around the zipper tape so it sticks firmly to the glue. I flip the exterior outer compartment over to the right side and be sure that the zipper is centered horizontally and vertically within the rectangle box and looks good. I heat set the glue from both sides with a hot dry iron. With the exterior outer compartment right side up, I top stitch 1/8 of an inch around all sides of the rectangle, securing the zipper in place. Step 11. Adding zipper pocket accent. I trace the stiffener zipper accent piece onto the Pallon deco fuse. I find using an X-Acto knife is most accurate to cut out the center rectangle. I fuse the stiffener zipper accent piece centered on the exterior accent zipper accent piece from the wrong side. As shown on the zipper accent template, I mark the center lines on the wrong side. Using an X-Acto knife, I cut the slit and V-shaped markings inside the inner rectangle. I coat the wrong side within the outer and inner seam allowances of the exterior accent zipper accent piece with contact cement and let it dry until it's tacky. I turn and stick down the outer seam allowances using the bone folder to help smooth the edges. Then I turn and stick down the inner seam allowances using the bone folder again to help smooth the edges. I coat the wrong side of the zipper accent piece with contact cement and let it dry until it's tacky. I stick the zipper accent piece over the zipper onto the exterior outer compartment and press with my fingers and the bone folder. At my industrial machine, I leave my thread tails long and top stitch a scant 1/4 inch around the inner and outer edges of the exterior accent zipper accent piece, securing it in place. When I reach the corners, I manually turn the hand wheel to make sure I'm going slow enough not to sew over the edge before I rotate. I use the hand wheel on my machine quite a bit when I'm top stitching to achieve a cleaner look. I pull my thread tails to the wrong side of the exterior outer compartment, knot them and trim them. I do this because it's important not to backstitch on vinyl or leather when you're top stitching. Instead, just bury and knot your threads. Using the zipper accent template as a guide, I mark the rivet holes placement. Using a rotary punch, I punch an 1/8 of an inch hole on my markings through all of the layers. I installed 2 1/4-inch rivets into the holes. Step 12. Finishing zipper pocket and adding lining. I used a longer zipper than needed, so I am trimming the excess zipper off. I fold the bottom half of the zipper pocket lining piece upward, lining up the bottom edge with the top edge and press with my iron. I pin the pieces around the edges. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the left, right, and top edges of the zipper pocket lining, closing the pocket as shown in the diagram. I lay a lining A outer compartment piece right sides together on top of the zippered exterior outer compartment panel, lining up the edges, and I pin the pieces together. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the top edge of the pieces. I make a few triangle-shaped cuts into the seam allowance around the curves, being careful not to cut my stitching. I flip the pieces right side out and press with my fingers and then with my iron. I top stitch a 1/4 inch from the top edge through both layers, and then I sew baste a 1/4 inch from the left, right, and bottom edges around the outer compartment panel, basting the exterior and lining pieces together. Making the exterior outer compartment number 2. Step 13, body pocket. Many pre-made piping options only have a seam allowance of 3/8 inch between the cording and the raw edge, and the Shiloh Satchel uses 1/2 inch seam allowances on the exterior. So if you're using a pre-made piping with a 3/8 seam allowance, you will need to place the edge of the piping slightly inward from the raw edge of the bag. For example, I'm using a pre-made piping with a 3/8 seam allowance for this bag. I place the piping edge inward 1/8 of an inch. That way when I assemble the bag with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I don't sew over the piping. I place a fine line of Elmer's washable school glue along the top edge of the exterior body piece and lay down a piece of pocket piping along the top edge of the exterior body pocket piece. As mentioned already, I'm keeping the piping away from the edge 1/8 of an inch. I heat set the glue with a hot dry iron. I place another fine line of Elmer's washable school glue along the top edge in the seam allowance of the piping. I place the exterior and lining body pocket pieces right sides together, lining up the edges, and I heat set the glue with a hot dry iron. Using a zipper foot, or you could also use a cording or welting foot, I sew the pieces together along the top edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I make a few triangle-shaped cuts into the seam allowance around the curves, being careful not to cut the stitching. I flip the pocket pieces right side out and press the seam flat. Using my industrial machine, I top stitch a 1/4 inch from the top edge seam through both body pocket pieces. Step 14, joining compartment and body pocket. I lay the remaining exterior outer compartment panel down right side up, then I lay the body pocket piece right side up on top of the panel. I fold the body pocket piece in half and press along the center to make a crease. I lift the exterior body pocket piece upward so that the wrong side of the lining A body pocket is showing, and then I pin the pieces together. Using an erasable marking pen, I mark a center line on the wrong side of the lining A body pocket. I sew directly on that line through the lining A body pocket and exterior outer compartment panel, backstitching at the start and stop. I sew as close to the top of the pocket as I can get. I remove the pins and fold the entire panel in half to find the center again. I mark a small dot centered just below my top stitching on the body pocket. Using my rotary punch, I punch an 1/8 of an inch hole through all of the layers. I install a 1/4 inch rivet in the hole. I lay the remaining lining A outer compartment piece on top of the exterior outer compartment, right sides together, lining up all the edges and pin the pieces together. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the top edge of the pieces. I make a few triangle shaped cuts into the seam allowance around the curves, being careful not to cut the stitching. I flip the pieces right side out and press the top seam flat. I top stitch a 1/4 inch from the top edge through both layers. Then I sew baste a 1/4 inch from the left, right, and bottom edges around the panel, basting the exterior, lining A, and body pocket together. Assembling the exterior bag panels. Step 15, joining outer compartments and bag body panel. I lay one exterior bag body right side up and place the zippered exterior outer compartment on top, lining up the left, right, and bottom edges, and then I pin the pieces together. I lay the remaining exterior bag body piece right side up and place the pocketed exterior outer compartment on top, lining up the left, right, bottom edges, and I pin the pieces together. I sew baste a 1/4 inch from the left, right, and bottom edges of the zippered exterior outer compartment through all the layers. Then I repeat this for the second bag body panel with the body pocket. Step 16, adding piping to the bag body panel. Adding piping around the body of the bag adds a nice contrast between the body and the gusset, but it's a completely optional step. For this step, it will help tremendously if you have a welting or a cording foot for your sewing machine. As I mentioned already, I'm using pre-made piping that has a 3/8 inch seam allowance, so I will be placing it about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge as I go around the body panel. Starting in the middle of the bottom straight edge of the exterior bag body panel, I clip the piping in place, leaving about 1/2 inch extra hanging off the edge. I continue clipping the piping around the entire exterior bag body panel with the edge of my piping about 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edge of the exterior bag body panel. I can eyeball 1/8 of an inch pretty well after sewing all these years, but those awesome Clover Wonder clips have markings on the back side that I'm using to help me make sure the distance from the edge of the panel to the cord is exactly 1/2 inch. If you're using a non-woven material for your piping, then I would suggest making small little cuts into the seam allowance of the piping on the curved corners. When I reach the end, I butt the two ends up and point the excess downward off the panel and clip. At my industrial machine, I sew baste a 1/4 inch around the entire exterior bag panel, securing the piping in place. I will trim the extra piping at the start and end flush with the exterior bag body panel. I will repeat this process for the second exterior bag body panel. Making the exterior bag gusset. Step 17. Preparing exterior zipper face. I place a fine line of Elmer's washable school glue on the right side along the edge with no foam of one of my exterior zipper face pieces. I lay the other zipper face piece over the top, right sides together, matching up the edges with no foam. Heat set the glue with a hot dry iron. With a ruler and a marking pen, I mark a line 1 inch from each short end on the edge without foam. With a 3/4 inch seam allowance and a stitch length set to 2.5 and a zipper foot, I sew along the edge without foam from the short edge to the first 1 inch marked line, and I backstitch. I switch to a basting stitch of a length of about 5 and continue sewing with a 3/4 inch seam allowance from the first marked line to the second marked line. When I reach the second 1 inch marked line, I switch to a stitch length of 2.5, backstitch at the start, and sew to the end. I pop open the glue between the seam and press the seam allowance open. Place a few pieces of double-sided adhesive tape down the length of the open seam allowance. I'm using a longer coil zipper than required. I plan to trim it when I'm done. Lay the zipper right side down, centered over the seam allowance, lining up the end without the zipper pull up with the short edge of the zipper face. The rest of the zipper just hangs off the other end of the zipper face. I press the zipper tape down to stick it securely to the tape. With the exterior zipper face right side up, using my industrial machine, I top stitch a 1/4 inch away from both sides of the seam down the entire length of the exterior zipper face. Using a seam ripper, I carefully cut open the basting stitches in the seam above the zipper, making sure I do not cut the last 1 inch of regular stitches on each end of the zipper face. I use a lint roller to clean up any stray threads. Now I take the zipper pull and feed it under the closed 1 inch section of the stitches and pop it out in the middle of the zipper face. Step 18, attaching side strap connectors and side panels. I place a small piece of double-sided adhesive tape centered on the end. I center one side strap connector widthwise on top of the tape, place one exterior side panel right sides together with the zipper face, lining up the top narrow edge of the side panel with the short edge of the zipper face, and I pin them together. At my industrial machine, with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the edge through the exterior side panel, side strap connector, and the exterior zipper face. I open the pieces and press the seam toward the exterior side panel. I top stitch a scant 1/4 inch away from the seam through the exterior side panel. I will repeat these steps to attach the second exterior side panel to the other short end of the zipper face. Step 19, exterior side pockets. I place a piece of double-sided adhesive tape along the right side top edge of one exterior accent side pocket piece. I place one exterior side pocket piece on top, right sides together, lining up all sides, and press the tape. I repeat this for the second set of side pocket pieces. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the top shorter edge. I flip the pieces open and press the seam. With the edges of the two pieces lined up, I top stitch a 1/4 inch from the top edge through both layers. I repeat these steps for the second exterior side pocket. Place one exterior side pocket with the accent side up on top of the side panel, lining up the bottom edges, and I clip. I bring the side edges of the side pocket inward to line up with the side edges of the side panel, and I clip the pieces together. With my industrial machine, I sew baste a 1/4 inch from the left, right, and bottom edges of the pieces to secure the exterior side pocket. I repeat these steps to attach the second exterior side pocket. Step 20, exterior bag bottom. Using the measurements listed in the pattern, I mark the bag feet placement on the interfacing wrong side of the exterior accent bag bottom piece. Using my rotary punch, I punch holes at each marking. I install the bag feet. Place a piece of double-sided adhesive tape along the bottom edge of the exterior accent side pocket and place the exterior accent bag bottom, right sides together, lined up with the bottom edge of the side panel, and press the edge to the tape. On my industrial machine, with a 1/2-inch seam allowance, I sew along the edge. While I'm still at my machine, I open up the pieces and just finger press the seam allowance towards the exterior accent bag bottom. I top stitch a scant 1/4 inch from the seam through the exterior accent bag bottom. Because the glitter vinyl is so sticky, I don't really worry about using the adhesive tape for the second side. I just place the other short edge of the exterior accent bag bottom right sides together with the other edge of the side panel, and with a 1/2-inch seam allowance, I sew it along the edge again. I open the pieces and finger press the seam allowance towards the exterior accent bag bottom piece. I top stitch a scant 1/4 inch from the seam through the exterior accent bag bottom. The exterior zipper face, side panels, and the exterior accent bag bottom pieces are all connected, creating a large loop which I will call the exterior bag gusset. Assembling the bag exterior. Step 21, joining exterior bag body panels and the bag gusset. Fold the exterior bag gusset in half to find the center of the zipper face in the bag bottom and mark on the wrong side. You also should fold the gusset again to find the center of the left and right sides and mark. I don't show it here in the video because I added it to the pattern after I made this bag, but the pattern mentions folding the gusset the other direction, matching the 2 marks I just made and marking the center of the left and right sides of the gusset. Then I use the exterior bag body template to mark the top center and bottom center, and again you will also want to mark the side centers on the wrong side of the exterior bag body. With the exterior bag gusset laying down wrong side out on my table, I line up the top center mark on the gusset with the top center mark of the exterior bag body panel with right sides together, and I clip. Line up the bottom center mark of the gusset with the bottom center mark of the bag body, and I clip together. Again, not shown here, but in the pattern I would line up the left side center mark of the gusset with the left side center mark of the bag body panel, and I would clip it together, and then I would repeat for the right side centers as well. Then, working between these clips, I line up the top and bottom straight edges of the exterior bag gusset and bag body. I continue until the gusset is clipped to the bag body panel all the way around. At my industrial machine, I sew with a 1/2-inch seam allowance around the entire edge of the pieces. When I get to the seam allowances between the bag bottom and the side panel, I make sure the seam allowance is laying flat and doesn't get flipped or twisted as I sew over it. I remove the clips and smooth out any wrinkles or bumps as I go, so I don't create little pleats or snags in the curves as I sew. When I reach a real thick section, I like to manually turn my hand wheel and slowly crank through the thick sections. Before you continue, unzip the main zipper halfway. Using the exterior bag body template, I mark the top center and bottom center, and again you'll want to mark the side centers as well. I line up the bottom center mark of my exterior bag gusset with the bottom center mark of my exterior bag body panel and clip together. I put a few more clips along the bottom straight edge, then I line up the top center mark of the gusset with the top center mark of the bag body panel with right sides together and clip. Working between these clips, I line up the top and bottom straight edges of the gusset and the bag body panel and clip the pieces together. At my industrial machine, I sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance around the entire edge of the pieces, removing clips and smoothing out any wrinkles or bumps as I go so I don't create little pleats in the curves as I sew. I trim the bottom and side seam allowance. Now with a pair of very sharp fabric scissors, I trim the bottom and side seam allowances down to 1/4 inch. Then I leave the top seam allowance that's along the zipper face as is. I don't trim it. I flip the exterior bag right side out through the main zipper, pushing out the edges and corners with my fingers. You really have to smash the bag pretty hard, but don't worry, it will snap back into shape when you're done. Making the interior body panels. Step 22, installing zipper pockets. I lay down one lining B bag body piece right side up and fold it in half to find the center. I fold one lining B zipper pocket lining piece in half lengthwise to find the center, and I lay it right side down centered on top of the lining B bag body. I use the measurements in the pattern to position the zipper pocket lining, and then I pin the two pieces together. Using the bag body template as a guide, I mark the zipper pocket placement rectangle on the zipper pocket lining piece. I refer to the pattern for the exact measurements of the box for the size bag that I'm making. I sew directly on the line of the rectangle box through all the layers, backstitching at the start and stop. I remove the pins, trim the threads. With fabric scissors, I carefully cut a slit through all of the layers, down the center of the rectangle box on my marked line. When I get to the V shape in the corners of the rectangle, I try to get as close to the corner of the rectangle without cutting the thread. I stuff the zipper pocket lining piece through the slit. I finger press the seam around the rectangle box to get the zipper pocket lining piece to lay flat. Then I press the rectangle with a hot dry iron until it's nice and flat. I place Elmer's washable school glue along the zipper tape and center the zipper right side down onto the rectangle box. Finger press around the zipper tape so it sticks firmly to the glue. I flip the interior bag body over to the right side, make sure the zipper is centered horizontally and vertically within the rectangle box and everything looks good. I heat set the glue from both sides with hot dry iron. With the interior bag body right side up, I top stitch 1/8 of an inch around all sides of the rectangle, securing the zipper in place. I fold the bottom half of the zipper pocket lining piece upward, lining the bottom edge with the top edge, and press with my iron. I pin the pieces around the edges. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I sew along the left, right, and top edges of the zipper pocket lining, closing the pocket. I repeat these steps for the second interior bag body zippered pocket. Making the interior bag gusset. Step 23. Preparing the interior zipper face. I lay both interior zipper face pieces right sides together. With a marking pen, I mark a line 3/4 inch from the long edge and a 1 inch from each short edge and pin the pieces together. With a 3/4 inch seam allowance and a stitch length of 2.5, I sew from the short edge to the first 1 inch marked line and backstitch. I switch to a basting stitch, length of 5, and continue sewing with a 3/4 inch seam allowance from the first line to the second. When I reach the second line, I switch back to a stitch length of 2.5, backstitch at the start, and sew to the end. Press the seam allowance open. Step 24, attaching interior side panels and bag bottom. I lay the interior zipper face right side up and place one interior side panel right sides together with the interior zipper face, lining up the top edge of the interior side panel with the short edge of the interior zipper face, and then I pin them together. I line up and pin the other side panel with the other end of the zipper face right sides together. Then I line up the bottom edge of one of the interior side panels with the short edge of the interior bag bottom and pin them together. Then I line up the other side of the bottom side panel with the bag bottom and pin them right sides together. With a 3/4 inch seam allowance, I sew along the edge of the zipper face and interior side panel. I flip the gusset and sew along the other edge of the interior zipper face and side panel. Now I sew the edge between the side panel and the bag bottom. And then I flip it and sew between the other edge of the side panel and bag bottom. With the seam allowances pressed toward the side panel, I top stitch a scant 1/4 inch away from the seam through the interior side panel. With the seam allowances finger pressed towards the interior bag bottom, I top stitch a scant 1/4 inch from the side seam through the interior bag bottom. The interior zipper face, interior side panels, and interior bag gusset pieces are all connected and top stitched, creating a large loop piece that I'm going to call the interior bag gusset. Assembling the bag interior. Step 25. Joining interior bag body panels and bag gusset. In the same way I marked the exterior gusset and bag body, I marked the interior bag gusset and interior bag body panel. With the gusset laying on the table and the bag body laying on top, I line up the top center mark of the interior bag gusset with the top center mark of the interior bag body panel, right sides together, and clip. Line up the bottom center mark of the gusset and bag body panel and clip together. With right sides together, I line up the side center mark on the interior bag gusset with one side center mark on the interior bag panel and clip together. Working between the top, bottom, and side clips, I line up the raw edges of the bag gusset with the bag body panel and clip the pieces together. You will be easing quite a bit of the bag body panel into the bag gusset, since you will be using a 3/4 inch seam allowance to assemble the interior. I use the 3/4 seam allowance because it makes the lining fit really nicely in the bag. If I use a smaller seam allowance, like a 5/8 or a 1/2 inch, it kind of makes the lining really saggy and it doesn't look good. So it's important to use the 3/4 inch when assembling the entire interior bag. This means there's going to be little pleats and puckers in the curves of your interior bag body as it lines up with the interior bag gusset, and that's actually normal. The key is to try and keep those puckers and bumps within the seam allowance and away from where you're actually sewing. You want to try not to sew over any of the puckers. Keep them in the seam allowance, smooth it out, and you won't see any of those puckers when you look on the inside of the bag. I sew with a 3/4 seam allowance around the entire edge of the pieces, smoothing out any bumps or puckers as I go so I don't create pleats in the curves as I sew. I repeat this process to attach the second bag body panel to the bag gusset. Now, starting from the side panel all the way down the bottom to the other side panel, I trim my seam allowance to a 1/4 inch. The seam allowance parallel to my zipper face, I trim to a 1/2 inch so that it will match the seam allowances on the exterior bag perfectly. You really want the top seam allowance to be the same size as the exterior bag for the next step. I'm also being very careful not to cut into my stitches. Joining the bag interior and exterior. Step 26, tacking top interior seams to top exterior seams. I drop the bag interior, which is wrong side out, into the bag exterior, which is right side out. The exterior zipper face should be folded back out of the way. I smooth out the bag interior so it fits evenly inside the bag exterior. Looking at the wrong side of the bag exterior and wrong side of the bag interior, I find those center line markings on the zipper faces from our past bag gusset steps. I match the interior top seam allowance to the exterior top seam allowance along both sides of the bag and clip them together. Getting as close to the start of the zipper face as I can, I sew through all the edges of both seam allowances, tacking the interior seam allowance to the exterior seam allowance. I'm very careful that I don't sew anywhere near my original seam line. I'm just sewing inside the seam allowance. Step 27, securing drop-in lining. Now I will clip the bag interior to the bag exterior along the folds of the zipper face. The folded edge of the interior zipper face, zipper teeth, and folded edge of the exterior zipper face should all be aligned. It may seem kind of odd to sandwich the zipper between these pieces, but after it's sewn, the zipper pull will slide smoothly between the layers of the exterior and interior zipper face. If you have a free arm on your sewing machine, now's the time to use it. I have my machine's top thread set to the same thread that I used when I top stitched the zipper face before, and then I have my bobbin thread set to a thread that matches my interior. Leaving the thread tails long, I top stitch directly along the previous top stitching on my zipper face, and I try to start as close to the original top stitching as I can, as far as I can get it into my sewing machine. Don't be afraid to smush your bag to get it to fit in your sewing machine space. It'll bounce back when you're done. I flip the bag around and then I top stitch the other side in the same way. Sewing a drop-in lining can be a bit difficult because the bag is so stiff and bulky. If you find it's too difficult, you can simply just hand sew to secure your interior bag. I neatly knot, bury, and trim all the threads so they're hidden and secure. Step 28, making a zipper pull tassel. I take the exterior accent zipper tassel piece and mark a line on the wrong side horizontally 1 inch from the top edge. Under the 1 inch line, I mark 14 vertical lines spaced every 1/4 inch. This leaves a 1/2 inch section at the end. Using a pair of fabric scissors, I cut directly on the vertical lines. I coat the wrong side of the top 1-inch portion and the right side of the last 1/2-inch fringe with contact cement and let it dry about 3 to 5 minutes until it's tacky. I feed a 1/2-inch swivel snap through the 1/2-inch fringe and fold the end of the fringe upward and line it up with the 1-inch line. Position the swivel snap at the top of the folded 1/2-inch fringe section. Starting at the folded swivel snap section, I roll the fringe up tightly and smooth finger press. I punch an 1/8 of an inch hole centered through the top 1-inch section of the tassel. I install a large 7/16 rivet, or you could use a medium Chicago screw, through the hole in the tassel. And now you should have a completed, beautiful Shiloh satchel. Thank you so much for spending the time with me to watch this step-by-step video tutorial. If you found it helpful, be sure to subscribe to Pile of Fabric's YouTube channel for future tutorials. If you have any questions about any of the steps, leave a comment. And again, you can find the Shiloh satchel pattern available at my website, pileoffabric.com.